Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Art of Pivoting Your Life. You can call in at 516-623-1240. Again, that's 516-623-1240. And we can give you guidance on how to pivot your life. Where are you stuck? Where are you feeling like you can't go anywhere? Because the truth is that you can. And while we wait for call-ins, I am going to go over some of the rules of the mind, which is my mentor Marissa Peers, one of her methods of teaching us how the subconscious works and also how to work with it. So let's get started. So the first rule, or not the first, but the one that was most impactful to me was that our mind loves what's familiar and rejects what's unfamiliar. And this comes from our mammalian brain, our lizard brain, the brain that we had when we were cavemen, because we obviously didn't know what would kill us or not. So this is all about survival, and what's familiar doesn't kill us, so it's safe, is what our mind thinks. And as we know, that's definitely not true. So how can you work with this? For me in my practice, what we look for are patterns of familiar things that are similar. We tend to recreate the same feeling that we had in childhood over and over again until we recognize that pattern. So I'll use myself as an example. Growing up, I had to walk on eggshells due to certain circumstances that were no one's fault. I don't blame anyone. Things just were how they were. And because I walked on eggshells as a child, that was familiar. I didn't really know any different. And as I got older and got into a relationship, I found one that, again, I walked on eggshells, not really realizing what I was doing, that I was making this same pattern, the same familiarity. One of the examples from when I was training was a woman who grew up kind of always feeling second to her sister. And then when she grew up, she married someone in the same field as her. And then guess what? She was second. She followed him around and she was second to his career. She always put him first because that was the familiar feeling. And the result was she was sad and she didn't know why. And she was sad because this familiar feeling of being second. And she was allowed to put herself first. She just didn't because she fell into this pattern of being second. Similar to me, I didn't really realize what I had done until I was training in hypnotherapy and saw the video about the woman who was sad because she was second. And the realization hit me like a ton of bricks because I was like, oh, that's what I did. I married someone who made me walk on eggshells because that was familiar to me as a child. So, what's familiar in your life that's holding you back? Let's look at societal programming, right? Like, we get told things are certain ways and we don't question them. And then we end up very unhappy because it's not what suits us. We don't realize, oh, I can make my own choices. Look at that. How novel to make your own choice in life. Oh my gosh. What are we even thinking making our own choices instead of listening to the status quo? One of a similar rule of the mind is that you make your beliefs and then your beliefs turn right around and make you. And that sort of goes with our thoughts. We can choose our thoughts. I think I kind of brain dump my shows just because I'm so busy. But I think I was talking about our thoughts last week. And, our thoughts are what kind of creates our beliefs. And we choose to accept the beliefs that we're given sometimes, or most of the time, especially when we're young, we don't know any different. And think about being a child and, you're not allowed to question your adults, right? They tell you how it is and you're supposed to accept it. You're not supposed to question it. And parents who allow their children to question things, I think, I applaud them, because that shows that this child has thought about things and is questioning things. And that's what we need in this world. We can't keep going how we are. We need to expand. We need to change. We need to grow. And we can't just keep things the way they always are. Same in our lives, in our personal lives, and as a whole world. So thinking about, what are my beliefs? Because those beliefs are making you, they're making your actions, they're creating your life. So if I believe I'm not good enough, I'm not going for the promotion that I want. I'm not asking the person out that I want to ask out. I'm not doing things that I want to do because I believe I'm not worthy. And my mind believes it because I've told it, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. So think about your beliefs when you're healing. It's so important to think about your beliefs, because that's the reason why you're struggling, has to do with beliefs. And a core belief that so many people struggle with is the worthiness question. And I'm here to tell you that you are worthy exactly as you are. It doesn't matter. You don't need to be perfect. You are human, and you're here having a human experience. Part of the human experience is making mistakes. And just because you've made a mistake, be it big or small, does not make you not worthy. It does not make you not enough. You are always worthy. So take that in. If you don't believe you're worthy, that's something you can work on. As my mentor says, write, I am enough on your mirror. Tell it to yourself every day. Eventually you'll believe it, because another rule is that our minds learn by repetition. And that's why affirmations work, because the more you talk about it, the more you say it, the more you take it in, the more you create a neural pathway of that thought, and the more you go towards it, you move towards that thought. And your mind believes what you tell it. So when you tell it, I suck, it goes, okay, you suck. Great. You want to suck? Your mind's not judging what you told it. So, hey, cool, you suck. Let's treat you like you suck. Because you suck, you're not going to go out for anything. You're not going to try anything. You're going to fail at everything because you suck. So that's what goes along with you suck. So stop telling yourself that. Tell yourself you're worthy. Tell yourself you can do it. Talk yourself into things. And instead of asking, why do I suck so bad? Say, how good am I? How awesome am I? What have I done right today? Instead of looking at what I've done wrong. Because all of our actions are run by habits of thought. And this goes again to the neural pathways. These habit of thoughts create our emotions and feelings, and then that creates our actions. So the thought, I suck, makes you feel bad, it makes you feel sad, maybe it makes you angry. And then what are you doing because you feel those things? Maybe you're lashing out at people. Maybe you're not going for that promotion again. Maybe you're not taking care of yourself. Maybe you sit and watch TV all day because you're just not motivated. So many things can come up with that. And if you instead you say, hey, I'm doing my best, changing I suck to I doing my best, how does that feel? I'm doing my best feels much better. And that goes to some of the Abraham Hicks work, like choosing the better feeling thought. If I can watch my thoughts, notice my thoughts, and go, okay, I'm not my thoughts. What am I going to choose to think? Because the only thing we really, truly have control over is what we think and what we choose to let in. And that's why people meditate and practice, mindfulness is, okay, I'm going to look at, what am I thinking? What thoughts are coming across my mind? And how can I change those? How can I rotate? How can I make this work for me? Because now I'm choosing me. And even saying, I choose me. I'm allowed to go first. I'm allowed to put myself first. So many people I work with really struggle with people pleasing. And that's a belief, right? That's coming from a belief that other people come first, that I'm not allowed to come first. And you are allowed to come first, always. Who else is going to put you first if you don't put yourself first? I mean, like, the reality is, no one else is going to put you first. And if you sacrifice yourself for other people, what are you doing? You're betraying yourself. What if you're doing something you don't want to do just because someone else wants you to do it? You're crossing your own boundaries. And that's what people pleasers do, cross their own boundaries day after day. And then you don't have any, and you don't trust yourself because you're crossing your own boundaries. And that results in so many other issues, like ending up in bad relationships that generally you're already a people pleaser when you got into, because as a child, you had to become a people pleaser in order to get the approval of the adults around you, or that's what you felt. Maybe it wasn't true, but the actions and words that the adults around you spoke made you think that. So how jacked up is that to not put yourself first? There's this belief in part of our society that says we have to sacrifice ourselves, especially as women, and it's BS. You do not have to sacrifice your own happiness and your own life to please other people. Choose you. Choose yourself. Put yourself first. Yes, we're here. If you have kids, they're really high on the list. But you know what? You can't take care of your kids if you're depressed and sleeping in bed all day. Not that there's anything wrong with doing that. I'm not making depression wrong here, but man, think about if you put yourself first and you felt good and you were able to have a great relationship with your kids and take them to the park because you felt good, and you're showing them, hey, I want you to put yourself first. I want you to make yourself the most important person in your life. Think about the impact on that. Whatever you want for your children, you should want for yourself. And you would not ever want your children to put everyone else around them first, except for themselves. So think about that and treat yourself accordingly, because you're good enough to get treated well. Guess what? It's true. One of the other rules of the mind, which I always enjoy, is the mind cannot hold conflicting beliefs. And I run into this a lot in my hypnotherapy practice because we do parts work, as I call it. We talk to the part that's responsible for the issue. And when we're talking to these parts, a lot of times they are conflicting what they're doing. So they think, oh, I'm helping. Like, I use anxiety as an example a lot just because a lot of people experience anxiety and understand what it's like. And so, if we're talking to this anxiety part, we're like, hey, anxiety of John, what you doing? Why are you here? Why are you doing this? And the part says, oh, well, I need to protect them. Okay, why do you need to protect them? Because they're not safe. Okay, why are they not safe? And then it goes into the story. Okay, and whatever they say usually isn't true. Okay, well, do you think you're actually helping by giving them anxiety? Is that really keeping them safe? And then generally the part's going to go, oh, well, no, I guess not. I'm like, no, it's not. It's actually hurting them. Oh, yeah, I guess it is. And then we get that part to leave because it realizes, oh, this is not working, right? And these conflicting beliefs can be very interesting to work with. And I love doing the parts work, which is actually why I was talking about that more so than the conflicting beliefs. But it's like, I can't believe that the sky is blue and then call it green. That doesn't work. And so if you believe, you say I'm good enough, but you believe I'm not enough, that doesn't work. You can't think you're enough and not enough at the same time. They cancel each other out. And then you kind of don't believe anything. One of the most effective ways to work with your mind is this rule, which is the way we feel about everything comes down to the pictures we make in our head and the words we say to ourselves. And recently I've been working with some cheerleaders, which has been so much fun. They're so adorable and they're so sweet. And it's amazing to me the change you can see in, one session, because we can use their minds to create the pictures that they want and use the words that they say to themselves, create new thoughts, and get them past blocks of like tumbling and different moves. And that's why visualization works. That's why vision boards work. If you really, really work with them and create that picture in your mind, because your mind wants to give you what you want. Like it really does. It just doesn't know what you want except by the words and pictures. So if you're using words like I suck, then that's why it's giving you things that suck and you're doing actions that suck, or inaction, really. A lot of times it comes down to inaction. So what we can do is really think about what we want and not what we don't want. Language is important. Like the words you use are important. When I first started doing hypnotherapy, I decided, or even when I was training, I decided I was going to stop saying the word hard, because what can you do? If something's hard, it's hard. Like, how do you, okay, it's hard. And stop. Like, what do you do with that? I decided to start saying things are challenging, things are difficult, because just because something's challenging doesn't mean you can't get through it and you can't win a challenge, right? Like, okay, I'm challenged, it's difficult, but I can run that marathon. And maybe I'm not going to win, but I can complete it. And then I've completed this challenge. I've moved through the challenge of training for a marathon. I personally haven't done that, just so everybody knows. Um, so creating pictures and using the words that go with it is so effective at creating change. And that's part of how, types of meditations you can do have those visualizations. They actually did a study, and I don't have it handy, so I may have numbers wrong, but they did a study of people who were in sports. And what they did was they had one set, just practicing of whatever. Let's say, running or lifting weights. Let's do it, lifting weights. So they had lifting weights, seeing themselves, or not even seeing themselves, one set lifting weights, second set seeing themselves lifting the weights, but not actually lifting them, but seeing themselves lifting the weights, telling themselves they were lifting the weights, showing themselves, okay, I'm feeling this move, like going through the actual training only in their mind, not physically. And then they had the third set doing both, visualizing and doing the exercises. And what was interesting was the group that only did the visualizations actually improved the most out of all three groups. And that just shows us the power of our mind. That's why placebos work. I mean, I hope you've heard of the placebo effect. And it is real. It is our mind thinking, oh, this purple pill is going to make me feel great. And it does. And it's sugar, or it's baking soda, or whatever they use in placebos. So think about how powerful that is. It's extremely powerful. So why not choose to create these visualizations, use these words that are going to support what you want? It's like with my cheerleading clients, we create the scene. You walk onto the mat, you see yourself, you feel good, you feel confident, you feel secure, you've got this. You feel so amazingly fantastic, and you just can't wait. You're so excited. And using these words that are interesting, so using the word spectacular, magnificent, excellent, all of those get your mind excited. So mindfully choose what you're going to think, what you're going to see. You see yourself walking onto the mat. You feel yourself. You feel your body feels great. You feel strong. You feel ready. And use those words to push yourself forward. So when you get to that competition, you're ready. Your mind's been there before. You showed it what you wanted to happen when you were in this situation. You told yourself exactly what you wanted. You told your mind, hey, this is what I want. I want to be able to do backflips like the best person that's ever done backflips ever. And I am amazing at it. And I am excellent and I feel good and it's fun and I enjoy myself, because your mind's going to listen. It's going to go, oh, okay, cool. You've got this. You know you can do this, and you do it. And you get past any blocks that you had that somehow got implanted in there. And you just tumble your little booty off. And it's amazing. And you feel so good. And it's been so much fun working with sports people, I tell you, because really mindset's so important. So these rules, you've noticed probably, they really go together, because that's how our minds work. Our thoughts, it really comes down to thoughts. Everything comes down to thoughts. So creating a visualization, seeing it, are there smells involved? Smell it. Like all of those things work really well. And we can really create a beautiful and amazing time with ourselves doing these sports and getting what we want out of them. And our imagination is more powerful than knowledge when it comes to dealing with the mind. And that again goes with this visualization thing, right? You can really use your imagination. And that's why you can daydream about what you want. And you're showing your mind, hey, I want a beautiful home in the country with lots of trees and a pond, and show it that all the time. And then eventually, that's what you get. You get what you want. Your mind gives you what you want. It moves you towards what you want, because one of the other rules is our mind is wired to move us toward pleasure and away from pain. And that's where what's familiar, what's not familiar comes into play too, right? Like these two things are conflicting. You don't want pain, you want pleasure. So tell yourself, I get pleasure out of this. I get pleasure out of that you want. And it just will happen. It's easy, effortless. Tell yourself, and it works wonders. And I think we're almost out of time. How are we doing on time? Are we there?
30 seconds.
Okay. My website, if you're interested in working with me, is Zen Mind Michelle. That's ZenMindMichelle.com. And we'll see you next week.